I call the September 17, 2018 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. The one item is Department of Labor. The Department of Labor will present the SHAPE Award to the city. Travis, please.
We have three gentlemen from the Department of Labor here tonight to recognize the city's efforts for citywide safety compliance. I'm going to introduce Mike LaPlante, and I'm going to let him do the other inductions from there. Excuse me? Wise, yes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Mike LaPlante. I work for Maine Department of Labor Workplace Safety and Health Division. Technically, I'm an enforcement supervisor. We're the ones that show up and do unannounced inspections, knock on the door. Hugely popular program, as you can imagine. But tonight we're here for a good cause. I want to introduce Steve Greeley, my boss, Director of Workplace Safety and Health Division, and Dan Bolduc, who is the now new Director of Bureau of Labor Standards.
Thank you for coming.
So, in a nutshell, I said we do public sector enforcement. Like Federal OSHA handles all the private employers in the state of Maine, we do inspections on all the public sector. Fatality investigations, accident investigations, complaints, and if we're not doing a lot of those, we do inspections. But this isn't about an inspection. This is about proactive safety in the workplace. In 2005, a previous director of ours came up with a SHAPE program, stands for Safety and Health Awards for Public Employers. It mirrored a program that we run for the federal government called SHARP, but the SHAPE program is designed for public sector employers that are trying to strive to do the right thing. The program, since its inception in 2005, we've only given out, I think this is right around 90 awards. If you do the math, there's not many. We don't give these out lightly. Excuse me. In order to get into this program, we have a survey that all the departments have to fill out to their training, their written programs, and medical clearances, and any medical information. We actually crunch every department's injury and illness data and can't compare those to the fire department average for the state of Maine of injury and illnesses, police department, and so on and so forth. So if all that looks good, we will come in and do what we call a wall-to-wall inspection. Not an inspection as an enforcement inspection. Do you have Rich?
Yes.
Rich came down. So the idea is we go to these places, there's something different, there's somebody who wants to strive for something better, and in this case, Old Town has done that job. Rich Wark, who's our inspector, who's our consultant, excuse me, he comes in, he looks at your injury logs, looks at all the written programs, all the training, all the medical information, equipment inspections, facility walk. It's not an easy thing. You get a chance to clean some things up as long as you're not too far out of line, and in this case, you guys are in great shape, so to speak. I'm going to just drop what I'm doing for a sec. We brought letters around for everybody to tell us a little bit about what we do. So tonight, my bosses are going to present what we call the coveted SHAPE Award. 90 of them, I think, actually, as employers go, there are only, I think, 11 or 12 employers in the state of Maine in the public sector that have achieved this award city or town wide. So if you think of that, it's maybe one a year get in if they're lucky.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of hard work on the staff, by the staff, and so I think I'm going to be done talking and let somebody else stand up now. And Steve?
Thank you.
As Mike mentioned, my name's Stephen Greeley. The way Mike was going there, I wasn't sure if I was going to have anything left to say, and I kind of feel bad for Danny because he's going after me. But as Mike mentioned, we had the SHARP program, which is a national program for the private sector. It's about 1,800 nationally. And for about the first 10 years, it seemed like Shape was chasing Sharp. And as Mike mentioned, we're now up around 90, and I think we have 58 Sharps. So I'm going to say probably about 3-4 years ago, Shape went by Sharp and hasn't looked back. One of the things, and I'm going to turn it over to Danny here in just a second, but we'll be presenting a plaque to the city. And probably the biggest thing that I want to draw attention to is down bottom here, because these are renewal plates. So this award's good for 2 years, and I always feel a little guilty at this point because, you know, congratulations, but your work's just beginning. So I know a lot of work, you know, has gone into this, but again, nothing would please us anymore if we could be back here in 2 years and recognize you for, you know, 2 more years. That being said, I'll turn it over to Danny Bolduc, the Bureau Director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mike. I am Danny Bolduc, and I am the new Director of the Bureau of Labor Standards. I've been on the job all of 4 months. Previous to that, I was an insurance agency owner in Oakland, Maine, and previously, before that, I was a professional hockey player with the Detroit Red Wings in the NHL.
Wow.
All of you in the room, are to be commended for your efforts to attain Shape status. You survived the audits. You made all the necessary safety adjustments, and now all of your departments have made a statement that you care about safety, and you have made safety a priority. Achieving the Shape certification demonstrates a willingness to be a leader in protecting your employees and the general public, a willingness to put your departments out there as a model for success and a challenge for all the other public sector entities in the state to step up. Promoting a culture of safety is infectious. Your departments are being recognized and commended for this impressive commitment. And so, on behalf of Governor Paul LePage, Commissioner John Butera, and the Maine Department of Labor, congratulations for a job well done. Old Town, Maine, our newest Shape location business. Congratulations.
I do want to get a picture.
Okay.
You and the department heads, Travis, you get everybody that's
Be
involved
glad
in
to
this
do that.
committee.
Right in the front here, or where would you like it?
We want to hand that plaque off to somebody deserving.
Okay.
Yeah, committee, come on up, yeah. What do you want us to be?
Well, I'm going to take the picture, so I'm the out guy. I'm the out guy.
How you doing?
We will use these mug shots on out, no.
Smart looking group.
Yeah, you're going to have to squeeze in a little bit.
Come behind.
That's going to be a good picture. All right,
I think you're fine.
perfect.
Yeah.
Smile.
Just won a huge award. Be happy. Don't worry.
Very nice, everybody. Very nice.
Now, just a couple things. If you need help with a press release, if you do need one,
Yes.
we have a communications person. You can call down the office. I can hook you up with they'll help you write do a press release. And I would be contacting your insurance agent because I think there's a discount on your insurance coming your
I was
way.
gonna ask the city manager, somebody, do you know what that amount is?
I believe it's about 3%.
Yeah.
off the top.
3% discount?
Yeah.
which can be very significant. A lot of
Absolutely.
the policies are very expensive. I come from the insurance business, so I know.
I know you guys have, well, thank you for coming tonight.
All right.
Thanks for
My
putting
pleasure.
us on up front so we can get
Thank
home
you.
to our loved ones.
Enjoy life.
Hi, nice meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I can say in follow-up is how much I appreciate all the effort of all the staff here. They've done a tremendous job in this. It's been a huge turnaround for us. This year, our loss ratio through MMA, we got dividends paid out in May of $18,000, and our workers' comp through litigation of 3 claims that got changed through our experience rating. There'll be a difference of $90,000 on workers' comp for us this year.
Wow. That's great.
So it's a significant,
It is good.
Right.
Yep.
significant impact.
I know, talking to you and Travis and Danielle a lot about it, that they worked very hard on this, and they've been
Yeah.
at it a long time, and you guys did a great job, all of you. Very good job. And thank you for leading them, sir.
They're pretty smart groups. Dan already pointed that out, so.
Okay, so that was the only thing on this committee, so I'd ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
So move.
Is there a second? Second. Carol, all those in favor? 6 tonight? 6-0. Okay, moving on to the Administrative Services Committee. That's Councilor Nuttall, who could not make it tonight, so I'll just take that. I call the Administrative Services Committee to order. We have 2 items on the agenda. Number 2, foreclosed properties. Lynn Hempkin and Lynn Lufkin from Habitat for Humanity will discuss building a single home family on city foreclosed property at 18 Bosworth Street. Travis? We have a map, I believe, here for this.
Yep. So just by way of how we got here, yeah, you'll see the map that I handed out. It's got 3 lots identified on there between Front and Bosworth Street. Those are 3 properties that the city has taken over the last approximately 3 years. 2 of the houses had to come down at 17 and 27 Bosworth, and the lot in the middle is a vacant lot. Those 3 lots are not legal to be lots by themselves anymore, so now that they're under common ownership, they'll transfer into 1 lot. So the city, now that the city owns a common ownership, it'll be 1 lot. It is a buildable lot as far as the size, and the city put that out to bid, closed on May 18th of 2018, with a minimum bid of $20,000, and asked for development proposals, thinking that it suited either 1 single-family home or a multi-family development the best, and we had 0 bids. And it's honestly just kind of set back burner while we're working on some of the other projects for right now to figure out what was best to do with it. I received, so that's the background of the lot we're talking about.
Okay.
These are just the tax cards. It totals .32 acres. So while it's decent in size for an in-town lot, it's very long and narrow. So the developable space, as calculated by Dave Russell with your setbacks and everything, is about 30 feet wide by 120 feet long. So certainly you wouldn't build that kind of a structure, but you could slide a 30-foot wide development on either end. The upper end is better. I received a phone call from Lynn Hempin from Habitat last week. I'll let her explain the details, but they kind of in a predicament with the 3-unit. The 3-unit's going to happen over on Perkins Avenue, but timing-wise, with the foundation and the contractors being so busy, things got a little muddled up. So they have a now opportunity as far as something that they can provide an additional 3-bedroom home if there's a space available. So the staff looked at what we had available. This stuck out because we've already put it out to bid once with no interest. And we asked them if they wanted to come up and look at it. Mr. Lufkin came up, did look at the lot, to see what they consider as far as development possibility. That's why we're here tonight, and I'll let them explain what they want to propose to the council that they would do with that lot if it was given to them.
So, you want me to go ahead? I'll just give you a little bit about how we'd like to get started with this. We are partnering with Eastern Maine Community College and they were set to begin this fall on the 3-unit condo on Perkins Avenue. So when the foundation contractor for that needed to postpone to a date for us, starting a month or two later, especially given that we work, that we usually get pretty good deals, we might not be their number one priority. When it's just us, that's not a problem. But because we're working with the Eastern Maine Community College, and they have a big chunk of that responsibility on that condo, they've got kids with a curriculum and a very fixed timeline on that curriculum. So they say to us, okay, we can still build a 3-bedroom home. We can frame it, we can get it pretty much to where you guys can take it and finish it if you get us a lot, because now we're idle without this condo. So we'd love to be able to utilize their expertise and their students to get something built that we can then take in about May to finish up by the end of June.
So they're just going to build a prefab. They're not going to put a foundation up there now. This is just
We'll put a foundation in.
in the spring.
Yes.
The basic system that we have with them is that they can build it off-site on a pseudo foundation, if you will, and they do that almost every year anyway.
Okay.
And what we did over here on Bennock Road was we got the foundation in early enough, and they put it right in within their fall program.
I see.
This time, though, we got them in trouble because we didn't have a foundation to go to work on.
Right.
So what they've agreed to, and it works pretty well for us, is go ahead and build a suitable 3-bedroom house off-site and bring it in pretty much like a modular. Set it on our foundation, and we've talked with 2 or 3 of the concrete contractors, because that's where we ran into the hole. Said a spring start would work for us. We can do something. And of course, we still got a heavy eye on the condo. But this subject here is a single-family home, simply to build a home for one thing, and the other to use Eastern Maine Community College this fall. Our intent is in the spring, and we've talked with your public works guy, and he says that we can come into both those lots without having to worry about posted roads. And that's where the concrete contractors get in trouble, is posted roads in the spring. Well, the town of Old Town doesn't post any one of those 3 roads, Perkins, Jefferson, or Bosworth, I mean. And so we can probably do both those foundations early, and then we'll go right to work on the centerpiece of the condo and set this house, and this house will come online rather soon if our optimism works. Okay. So this is kind of a key part of keeping Eastern Maine Community College in the fold, because they depend a lot on our budget for construction for their program. And of course, their instructors are right on the job, and their students want to build a house.
Right. So you're all set with that?
Yeah, we work with contractors a lot in that situation.
Okay. I guess for me anyways, and this is happening quick tonight because it's on the actual real agenda tonight, because you need to know it was a deadline of 10 days or something. They need to have an answer from.
That was correct.
That was the window that she shared when they first started, that we kind of had to nail it down the next 10 days to
Right.
2 weeks, or they had to look elsewhere,
Right.
basically, to get this to work.
So that's why it's on the committee and it's on the full agenda tonight. I mean, this is just me, but we put it out to bid and we didn't have anybody bid on it.
Correct.
So I guess I don't know what other plans we'd want to have. I mean, they let them build it. We're going to get tax money out of it. They pay taxes, so I don't see why we wouldn't do it.
What would the square foot be of that house?
I'm sorry?
The square footage, what would you build there?
Is it about 1,100?
And that's 3 bedrooms?
It'll be very similar to the house that went in on Bennick, because that lot was similarly kind of skinny and long. So we're going to begin with that floor plan.
Okay.
And somebody
That's
was telling
nice
me, was it
one.
you telling me that the way the lots are, is it's kind of up on a hill or something, so it's 160,
Yeah, the upper two, one's,
165, 172, or no? Which,
yeah, they're pretty much flat, and then the third one downhill is where, there was another house down there, but it kind of drops down to it. So when Lynn looked at it, it's looking like that upper section of what used to be those two lots is where it would be focused, which would be right straight across from Chapman Street. If you're
Okay.
familiar where Chapman Street comes into Ballsworth, it'd be right straight across from that was where that house would sit.
oh, okay, yep.
They used to have some accesses onto Front Street from there, and it's just, doesn't make any sense to redevelop in that direction. It's one way, it's a steep hill, things like that. So we talked about being right there on Bosworth Street where there's better access would be the entrance.
Okay, so, let's see, not also Jan and Shirley, myself. So it is on the agenda coming up. So I guess if we, Patty, do we get a consensus on this? We have a consensus right now, but you want an official vote? Or just to move this to the full council, which is already on there anyways? It's already on the regular agenda.
House issues. Yeah, you should probably,
So can I get a motion to move this to the full council for approval?
So moved.
Okay, that would be Jan. Is there a second? Shirley. Okay, discussion. All those in favor? None opposed? Okay, that takes care of that. And we'll vote on it in just a few minutes at the regular meeting, but it looks good. Second item, city-owned property. The committee will discuss the sale of land on French Island to James Mitchell.
Just in case there's additional
Don't know who that is. Is that you?
Yeah, no, this is basically just kind of an update.
Okay.
Just to let you know that it's still ongoing. Ed is waiting for follow-up, because the last thing that he had heard from you folks was we had batted around a bunch of ideas. One of them was talking about possibly continuing to litigate that to see if we could get the property, which he didn't suggest we do. The second one was to settle issue a quick claim deed to the reservation of an easement for the sewer. That's where the idea kind of got flip-flopped to say, well, how come he can't just get an easement from us?
Right.
And then the third option was to take the entire property by eminent domain, which he wouldn't suggest we do that, because that could be expensive again to do that. So he's still kind of waiting right now for follow-up on what they think about that easement option that the council had talked about earlier this summer.
Okay.
So it's still kind of hanging out there. I just want to let you know we continue to work on it, but.
Okay. Any questions for Bill? Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Okay, could I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So Shirley,
Second.
Jan, all those in favor? None opposed? 3-0. Okay, moving on to public services, that would be Carol.
Okay. I'll call the Public Services Committee to order. We have one item on the agenda, and we are going to discuss the report from CES regarding the construction demolition debris at the landfill station.
Okay. John, are you,
So we asked Jeff Strang to come here tonight. This is kind of an ongoing conversation that we've been having here for a while, trying to figure out the best option for what we do with the CDD landfill at the transfer station. One thing I can tell you is I've talked with Jim Dill. We tried to get legislation passed in the last session. It got all the way through the process and then got vetoed at the governor's desk and didn't get financed, but he's going to reintroduce legislation again this coming year to see if we can go back and possibly get financing to help pay for that, which usually the state will pay 75% of these costs, and the city would only have to come up with 25%. But at this point, we batted around a lot of ideas, and we figured we'd want to have Jeff come here tonight and help kind of sort through some of this mess for us.
So again, I'm Jeff Strang. I work for CES Inc. in Brewer. We've worked for the city for decades on operational, environmental, and engineering consultation for the landfill. I don't know if you guys want me to hash way back to 1989. You probably don't.
I don't think we need that now.
So the landfill hasn't been in operation I think the last time you guys took waste was 2014, and the only reason you did that was because the Old Town canoe facility was demolished.
Yes.
So the last time any waste went in there was 2014. There was some turnover among the project people at DEP between then and now, and you now have a new project manager for DEP who's overseeing that site. His name is Lou Pizzuti, and he is requesting that the town or the city make a decision on the future of the landfill, whether it be closure, continue to operate, and then he's outlined a couple of conditions for each option. Number one, if the city decides they want to stay open and not close it, the landfill was relicensed in 1998, but the relicensing action was never acted upon by DEP, and the reason for that was groundwater contamination.
Oh.
We have a disagreement on whether you're licensed or not. You are licensed to operate, but if you're going to continue to operate, he wants that license approved, that 1998 license approved. We have a disagreement on that. I don't believe you need to relicense, but in order to relicense, because of groundwater contamination, he wants a corrective action plan, which means you need to provide them with a written plan that says this is how we're going to address the contamination. And then if we do that, and they agree with it, they will relicense it.
Okay.
So that's one option. So I've talked with John and Bill, and the thought in-house was, because the city has a contract with Casella to accept 3,000 tons a year of construction debris up there for nothing, essentially, they don't see any reason to continue to operate it. So they asked us to look at some options for closure. One being close it in accordance with the solid waste rules, and what would that cost? And then the other option would be to remove the waste that's already out there and bring it to Juniper Ridge Landfill and turn that back into a green site. And the idea or the thought there was, well, let's look at the cost, and then, here we have a piece of property that might have a marketable value in the future. So we looked at that. And then as a side component to that, we thought if we take the waste, mine that waste, there's probably some material in there that doesn't need to go to a landfill, inert material, concrete, bricks, and then there may be some recyclable materials, metals, that actually have value. So we looked at that. And in that letter,
Is that the chart on the second page shows the dollar amount?
yeah, and that's just the bottom line, today's dollar amount. So when you close a landfill, you have capital that you're going to have to spend to close it. You're going to have to hire a contractor, bring in cover material, regrade, and then when it's closed, you'll have 10 years of post-closure monitoring. So you guys have monitoring wells there now that are currently monitored, and when you close, you'll have to continue to monitor those for 10 years. So these numbers include, these are today's dollar value for closure. So option 1 and 2 on that sheet shows if you close it now, the net present value is $439,000. If you postpone it in today's dollars for 5 years, it jumps it up to $600,000, $601. If you postpone it for 10 years, it jumps it up to $741, and 20 years, $966. So that kind of shows you what, the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to be.
But this is also still a waiting game because we're trying to find out if we can get funding for this.
So, yeah, and at this point, there is none. So if the senator is able to reintroduce that legislation and it gets passed, there could potentially be, and it's all about a date, believe it or not. You were licensed in, I think it was February of 1990, and the cutoff date was September of 1988. So anybody licensed after that date, which you guys were a couple months after that, does not qualify.
Oh.
So it's all about changing the date.
And part of the controversy of that was too, is that that application sat in their office, and they
For-
didn't sign it.
For a
until-
couple months.
And
No,
we,
years. The submission was
it
not
was a
time.
year and a half, the application. You know, I mean, you submit the application, there's some back and forth and all
Right.
that. And then I think it was from June of 98 until February of 1990, when you actually got the license, there was nothing. It was in their hands and we were waiting. And we went down a long path trying to get them to say, you know, that application was submitted on time, under those rules. The
Right.
intent of those rules, the intent of that was to cover these landfills that were licensed under those old rules. And it sat on your desk.
They wouldn't admit it.
They would not. No. So,
So chances are, I mean, Jim's gonna reintroduce that, but chances are we might not get anything.
it's a
may not.
possibility.
We'll try.
Right.
You gotta at least ask.
Basically, if we do it now, it's 439,000. If we wait till 23, it's
Yeah.
jumps up.
Yeah.
Almost a couple
It
$100,000.
could go longer, but John was just pointing out that the 10-year post-closure monitoring after the landfill's closed is in the rule. There is an allowance for DEP to require more if groundwater contamination, you know, shows that you need to continue to sample. But in our experience, it generally, once you cap it, no water can get in there. It'll generally fall off.
If we close it, it will be marketable?
So, and again, we did not evaluate the value of the property. We just evaluated what it would cost to remove the material. And if you've got a green site, the thought was that it would be a more marketable parcel of property versus having a landfill there.
Also, the thought was, from a green standpoint, that you take a landfill and move it to a new modern landfill, and you no longer have another landfill. You consolidate, so that in itself has got value. The fact that you are removing all that waste
Right.
from that site and bringing it to a new, more modern facility.
But if you look at option 3A, it's basically $1.2 million to remove the waste and take it to Juniper Ridge. And the 3B is just a wild guess at what potentially could be marketable in that landfill. 5% or 10% of the material could be removed and recycled. And that drops the price down to 5% is $922,000, and if you could get 10%, it'd be $557,000.
That's expensive land if you
But that's
look
a
at the
risky,
acreage.
yeah.
As it is now, if you look at the acres that are actual landfill, that's expensive land for the value to get back. But you would also have expanded, there's a lot of land adjacent to that's part of a detention pond. So I think in total, we're probably talking 12 acres, roughly 12.
I don't know what the total site is,
It's
but
20 total.
20 total
I
and
think it'd
12
have
up,
about
12 of, yeah.
But again, it's expensive upfront, and it's expensive land,
Right.
with no guarantees for development.
So did they give you a deadline of when they want the city to decide this?
They have not given a deadline. He just wants something, I can't remember the term he used, you guys were in that meeting, but relatively soon. So he has not given a deadline. And what he asked for was a decision from the council and then a plan moving forward with a schedule. So you can, you guys can mull this over and,
Right.
and think about what you think is the best option. And he's willing to work with you, on a timeline type thing.
I meet with him regularly, well, I say on a regular time interval, at least twice a year on an official, probably 4 times a year we talk, and then at least twice a year with a site visit and a review. And he's been patient, I guess, but he wants an answer.
Right.
We need to we're getting to the point where we need to decide what we're gonna
What
do
we're gonna
with
do.
with the options that are presented.
And he's gonna be fine. I mean, he'll end up asking John, have we met with the council yet at some point over
Yeah.
the next month or so? And if we say yes, it's gonna buy us little bits of time.
Until he puts it in his calendar to
Right.
call again.
Yeah.
I mean, when was Jim going to reintroduce this?
This winter.
This winter? Okay.
I mean, if he knows we're going down that road and we're making that effort, I mean, he's not gonna say, okay, you need to get this done by May 1st.
Right.
But we're gonna have to make sure that we can show him that we're making these efforts to do this.
Right.
And if some of these options don't work, we're gonna have to come up with some type of plan for this.
I think it's worth noting too, that at the time the original legislation was proposed, Lou was behind it and was in support of us, of our inclusion in that, and was disappointed that we were not.
Oh,
He's good to work. I mean, he's
Yeah, he's great.
pretty reasonable.
that's good.
Yeah.
So you just bring this back to the committee then, well, once we try to think this
Yeah,
through?
we'll bring it back again. We're not making any decisions tonight.
No,
But
you
it's
just
more
need to update
information
you.
and knowledge that we know.
Basically, if we clean up the landfill, you're saying worst case scenario is 1.2 million, and best case scenario is probably 557,000.
Yep.
And the 557 lumps in the recycling as well as the inert material,
Yep.
if you will.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So chances are it's somewhere in between those two numbers.
Yeah. And a lot of those, some of those numbers we got from Thibodeau.
Yeah, volumes from placement of the Old Town Canoe site was basically all inert, so we knew what the volume was there. And then it's more historical and institutional knowledge of what's in there. So in knowing what the composition of the CDD landfill is, you can sort of extrapolate what the volumes of metals are. And so that's where the guesswork comes in. We know that it's not all to be transferred.
So where
It
would
could
we-
be at the
Where
high
would we
end.
put the inert material that we get out of there? Right
It's
on the site somewhere, and just
good.
dump it out and say,
Yep.
there it is?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll just move this to the next, further down the road.
Yep.
And we'll- Okay. And that's all we had on our agenda for tonight. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming,
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the special council meeting. I call to order the September 17th, 2018 special council meeting. Flag salute. Stan, could you start that for us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken and a quorum is present.
Okay, there are no minutes. Petitions, communications, citizens' requests. This time, is there anyone from the audience that would like to discuss an item that is not on the agenda? Okay, reports, council president, nothing. Standing committees, city councilors.
Yes, I'd just like to report that I did attend the Housing Authority monthly meeting. They're just tremendous. They do great work. I like going there. They give me donut.
Thank you for going. I bet they're happy too, because it was always tough to get somebody there because of whenever they met the schedule, so I'm
That's
sure they're
my
happy we're
thought.
there.
Oh, they're really very good, and we're very fortunate to have the caliber of people that we have.
Good. City attorney. Special committees, city manager.
Just one item, the MSW hearing in Bangor is on Thursday at 9 a.m. I sent you folks some information last week. I'm sure you
Lot of
had
information. Lot of information.
plenty to read, so that's what will be discussed. If you want to go down there and listen, they'll be talking about that, so,
And we,
Cross Center in Bangor.
and we are in touch with Chuck and Ed when they request to have that hearing. We have been in touch with them. We're setting a meeting up to
Yep.
talk to them about what our attorney said, so. Okay, consent agenda, public hearings, old business, new business. City Council consider authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents to transfer the property located at 18 Bosworth Street to the Bangor Area Habitat for Humanity for the development of affordable housing. Councilor Ketchum, please.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby authorizes the city manager to execute all necessary documents to transfer the property located at 18 Bosworth Street to the Bangor Area Habitat for Humanity.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? None opposed.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much.
Okay, number 2, the city council consider issuance of a proclamation in observance of Constitution Week, September 17th through the 23rd. Councilor Klitsch, please.
That's this one.
It's number 2 on the, that one right
Yeah,
there.
okay. Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves issuance of a proclamation in observance of Constitution Week, September 17th through the 23rd, sponsored by the Old Town R&O Esther Ayers, Chapter Daughters of the American Revolution.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Stan will give you that one. Discussion? All those in favor? None opposed?
We have to
6-0.
read it?
No, I think we're good. I just got to sign it. Okay, so the next item is, give me a second here. The city council consider suspending the council rules, take an item up not on the agenda. Councilor Klitsch, please. That's the one.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves suspending the council rules to take up an item not on the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Carol, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. The city council consider going into executive session to discuss an economic development matter. Councilor Peterson, please.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves going into executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA Section 405, subsection 6C, for the purpose of discussing an economic development matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
Donna, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed, and it is 7:12 p.m.